What's up, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to the Voices of Kevin Live podcast show with your host, Diamond. We are here in the building having a new conversation and a new experience. Are you ready? Are you ready? Because if you're ready, I'm going to need you to use your key. And the key is that freaking thumbs up button. Come on, people. Come in, click it as you come in. I promise you, when you're clicking the thumbs up button, you are being recognized as being a supporter to this show. And also, you are massaging that algorithm. That algorithm helps us build the audience we're looking for. And it tells me you got me, you're here. So use the thumbs up button, please, please, please. It's your key to this conversation. Okay, listen, let's get this housekeeping out the way. You already know, and if you don't know, this show is on all platforms. The show is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, trying to give you an answer. But also, you guys are also giving me answers to many questions I have. So get involved. Don't just sit there. Don't watch like 5 seconds of the show and go off and say, I supported, I watched. The algorithm tells me who's watching. So come on, people, let's do better, right? It's 2025. We should not be doing what we've been doing in the past. We should be doing some new and exciting things, right? Okay. Now, I want to jump right into this conversation. So please, please, please sit back, sit up to your computer, but sit back. Welcome to this conversation. And let's have this real, unapologetic conversation starting the first Monday off in the new year. Let's do it. No holds bar. Let's do it. All right. So we had a conversation last week, and the conversation went really, really well, I thought, right? It may not show in the numbers, but I'm telling you, when people are reaching out to me via DMs or other platforms in the message, when they're sharing the content, they're letting me know that the show that they participated in, the conversation was on target. It resonated with them enough that they wanted to share it with other people. And I'm like, okay, this is what the platform is all about. It's about an awakening, having conversations that oftentimes we say we are having, but we're really not. Introducing new conversations to people who oftentimes don't even consider these conversations, right? We can talk about a lot of fluff. We can talk about a lot of things trending, right? But what's more important? What's trending, or is our mind in a place where we can process what should be important and what should just be trending, not important? A lot of things that we're seeing on social media and it's trending isn't serving our mental status at all. It's not. It takes up our time. Those people benefit from a our clicks, our likes, our attention, and yet we still walk away feeling empty. So that's not what this conversation is about, or any conversation. Now, let me just say this for the record, because we will talk about some trending things, i.e., this whole thing that's going on with Sean Combs and Jay-Z and that whole fiasco. We are going to talk about it, but not just because it's trending. I want to talk about it because oftentimes many people follow these people who wear the title celebrity, and they get confused what is false and what is reality, right? Many people, adults too, not just young, um, impressionable minds. Adult people also look at these individuals as they're these gods, right? And they're thirsty and saying, I want to be that. And you got to be careful about what you say you want to be. Trust me. A lot of people trying to be a whole bunch of some other people, and those people are taking them and themselves straight to hell. Okay, so be careful what you are putting in your mind, what you are consuming all the time, and what you want to mimic. It probably won't serve you well. Now, I don't want to be hitting you people with like, we don't want crickets in the room, right? Get involved. Let's have that conversation. Okay. So let me just say again, welcome again to a meaningful connection here on the Voice Together Live podcast show, where we delve into the art of communication and understanding a fast paced world that oftentimes takes us off perfective communication. Of course, I'm your host, and today we're going to explore the crucial topic. Would you know the difference between listening and not judging? Let me pause there for a second, away from my notes. Many people say, I know how to listen. I hear you. I hear you. And if you are an effective communicator or striving to be, um, if you're someone who's operates from the position of empathetic listening and not interrupting and not judging, then I'm not necessarily trying to point you out, but I am talking to the people who are honest and say, well, you know what? I'm someone who don't really know how to listen without judging. I'm someone who don't know how to listen without interrupting. I'm someone that don't know how to listen without coming to a conclusion, even before the person who's speaking to me has already finished their communication with me. I'm talking to you. I am not an expert in it, but I am someone who has come very far in being a listener. In my job as a counselor, you cannot be a counselor and say that you're doing good work when you don't know how to listen and not jump to conclusions. Now, there are people who would say, well, you're judging me. I feel judged. There's those people who feel judged because they're already defensive. There's those people who say that you're not listening because they already got their guard up so high that they're not even paying attention to what you are communicating. In 2025, we need to be doing better. And this just does not mean in our personal relationship. It also means in our professional relationships. You you may be working with someone, a boss or a colleague who say, I hear you, I'm listening, but yet they're already ready to cut your neck off. They're ready to write you up. They're ready to say that you're insubordinate. Like, come on, you're not listening. What you're doing is reacting. We have to do better. I don't know why people think in some form of fashion that time is going backwards. Like, the clock will start giving you more time. It's not. The more you live, the less time you're going to be here. It's just the truth. So why not figure out how to be an effective communicator, someone who uses this more and less of this? And the person you're talking to, when they're using this, don't automatically jump to the conclusion that when they're giving you tough love, honest feedback, holding you accountable, that you're being judged. This is why the topic is what it is. The title. Would you be able to recognize the difference? Would you know the difference in effective communication, listening, and not judging? Let me also just preference that I got this idea from my niece, right? Over the Christmas holiday, we were having this conversation, and I don't know how it came up. It's something I was talking about, and I think it was a game we were playing, my family and I were playing, and it wasn't that game. And then she said, "Oh, you know what? This reminds me of the game on TikTok that everybody's doing, saying, we listen, but we don't judge." Here's the thing and the difference, right? This show is not a game. This show is to help you. It's to enlighten you. It's to kind of help you build your toolbox so that when you find yourself in those kind of situations with someone else, because it takes multiple people to have effective communication, you will know that you are being an effective communicator. You are absolutely listening without judgment. There are so many relationships that falter because people are defensive. And there's some people who enter the communication already judging. Well, let me tell you something about what you did. You're already approaching that conversation with a judgment attitude. You're already putting the person in the off position, the offense position. They're like, well, wait a minute. Well, how are you going to open up dialogue with me, but you're already approaching it with a very judgmental tone? I'm thinking about a personal situation. Actually, I'm thinking about a couple personal situations that I'm in right now with some people. And I talked about this in a couple older podcasts, and actually multiple podcasts, where I was talking about how people would rather ghost you than be accountable. They would rather give a false narrative to other people because you're no longer connected to them, and those people know that. So they, to protect their image, they rather dispel this false narrative about you so that they don't look bad. And you know what I've learned about those individuals is that, Diamond, you don't need to kind of try to stand up and show that you're not what they're painting in some form or fashion, because you're not the first person that happened to. If it's happening to you, you can bet your bottom dollar that that same individual has done it to other people. They've been in those same kind of relationships or uh, ineffective communications with other people. They've shown up in a way that they were judging you when they're saying that you are judging them. Um, I toe to toe with a person about let's have communication. When someone tells me, well, I needed to take a pause, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you take a pause, and people pause are different, I respect that. I understand that. But for me, so I guess this is more a little bit more personal. For me, when you take a pause that requires you to stay gone for not days, maybe not even a week or two, months and years, baby, that's not a pause. That's a I'm over it. I'm over it and I'm over you. I don't have enough respect for us in this relationship to get back to business and maintaining the relationship. Therefore, I'm going to ghost you. I'm going to pause you. I'm going to see. I tell people, like, you just sat me in a corner. I didn't even know I was going in a corner, but you sat me in a corner. Again, you have to do what's right for you. And if that means pause for a moment so that you can effectively think about how you're going to communicate to the other individual, that um, is a smart thing. That is a smart thing because in doing so, what you are, in my opinion, what you are doing is saying, I value this relationship to the point that s- I value it so much that I don't want to not communicate what's important or go off on a tantrum that does not need to be there. You bring yourself to the conversation, but be effective. You can be hurt, you can be disappointed, you can feel let down, you can be all those things, but be effective in communicating what you are, right? Don't come in the communication wanting to hold someone else accountable, but you don't want to be accountable. The other person in that conversation with you can't tell you, "Oh, okay, I hear you. I respect what you're saying. I respect it. And I may still even disagree to some degree about what you're saying, depending on what it is. But I respect you had enough, whatever, for me to bring it to me, and let's have that conversation." When you let too much time get in there and you start thinking, sometimes you can't get back out of that space. Or if you do get back out of it, you don't come out of it the way you went in it. Meaning, when it was good, you don't get back to that because now you're on guard. You're on guard and you don't show up the way maybe you want to or you need to. How many of you in the comments uh, supporting this show have found yourself in a ineffective communication relationship with someone? It could be siblings, it could be a husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, it could be with people on your job, it can be with your best friends, it can be with just anyone, someone who's talking to you. How many of you have found yourself in those kind of situations? And I'm curious, how did you feel when you were in those situations? Why don't you drop me a comment here in the comment section, and let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. Because I know I have been again, I have been in those kind of situations, and as I'm doing this show today, I am in those situations right now with a few people. Now let's be clear, cuz those individuals very well may be watching the show, come across the show, may not, but let's be clear. I have gone to those individuals and says, "We need to have a conversation." I have picked up the phone and says, "Let's have a conversation." Now, that's not to say those individuals did not say it, but you can best believe. Remember that sinking sand? Like, I was put in a corner, I was ghost. They sat me down. They did what they needed to do. I'm not judging that. What I'm saying is, I don't know if it helped or hurt the relationship. I don't know if it helped or hurt the communication. Why? Because we have not had that conversation. I can come and sit and be quiet and listen. Baby, I remember someone told me I had came with a whole list. And baby, my list was highlighted. I've gone to have a conversation with someone and um, they've communicated to me through electronic email. And I took that email, printed it, and I highlighted things I wanted to reflect on. I needed clarity on. And I remember that person said, "Wow, you really printed that and brought it here?" And that was judgment from that person. Even though they may not intentionally felt they were going to be judging me, they were judging how I showed up to ensure I was being an effective communicator and also to point out things that stood out to me that I needed to talk about. People will judge what they don't know. And I don't know why people always do that. It's probably our human nature to do that. Matter of fact, I believe it is. However, when you know better, you do better. You do better. And you do better by not judging the people you have to have some form of communication. And I said you have to, meaning I have to have communication with people on my job. I have to have communication with people I love, be it my family circle or friends. I have to. And always those relationships and that communication is not always at its best. But what's the goal? Is it to get it back to its healthy status? For me, it is. I don't need anyone taking up any of my lifetime in unhealthy relationships. If I don't matter to you enough to fight for the relationship, to be vulnerable in the relationship, to admit when you have made a mistake in the relationship, to be accountable in the relationship, then you or I don't need to be in that relationship. Like, if you're going to ghost me, sit me down, I don't need to be following you on social media. I don't need to see your posts about your life. I don't need to be seeing you considering the people who at one point were questionable in those relationships. I don't need to see you, not that you intentionally are doing this, throwing those people in my face when I was given this certain space in your life. Now I'm no longer in that space. I have to now reflect, okay, hey, well, I no longer hold a space in this person's life. And although they have not told me, they have shown me. So why am I following this individual on their platform? For what purpose? And since they ghosted me, sat me in the corner, put me in a fight I didn't know I was in, why would I follow them? They don't need my number as a follower. I'm sure they don't. Now, guys, I'm talking about me, but I'm also using me so that you can look at yourselves. People have these, and I've mentioned this many a time on prior shows. Thousands and hundreds of thousands of friends on these platforms. A number, which is it's just a number. Let's be clear. You may have some friends in that, but the numbers I'm seeing across people's platforms, it's just a number. If that person isn't checking in on you, having effective communication with you, being empathetic towards you, forgiving you for some things that you may have done, holding you accountable in a healthy way, they're just a number. They're not a friend. Maybe you give them the title associate. But if you're not talking to those people and you don't even talk to them, they're just a number. Like, if you're not talking to them once a couple of weeks, or maybe a couple times a month, is it really a relationship or is it just a number? So I am very good at learning how to unfollow, uncheck, mind my business. Because if you don't want me in your life in a way to make sure we're good, I don't need to be following you and you don't need to follow me. This social media world has really hurt relationships with people. It's really, people already had trouble with communicating and having healthy relationships. Social media has made it 10 times worse. It has. It has given people the permission to not be accountable. How can you have and foster deeper connections with people when you don't know how to communicate with them? Just think about it. How can you? How can you have an effective and more meaningful connection with whomever if that person can't be vulnerable with you and hold you accountable? And yeah, you may do some crying. Oftentimes we do need to cry. We need to be that vulnerable with those people, right? That we love and we care about. Maybe that's what you need to do. Not the fake tears. Go in that deep, deep, deep place in yourself and start from there. Cuz if you're hurt, you're hurt. But oftentimes what we do is we turn our hurt into anger. Guilty. I've done it. I have done it. On the job, I have been hurt by people, right? And it turns into anger, and the anger turns into silence. Like, okay, we don't need to talk. All we need to talk about is the work. And it needs to be, it's very It's very military. No, thank you. This is what I need. We have to get this done. Thank you. It's just that. Because in doing that, it protects me. Maybe it protects you. And in the same token, you don't have that enriched connection with that person, even on the job. We spend more time with people on our jobs, and a lot of us can't stand them. We absolutely cannot stand them. We don't care nothing about them, don't wish them well. We don't care to see them. And if we didn't have to see them, we would be very happy. I've been there. I have. I told you, listen, I'm not going to sit on this platform and talk as a motivational speaker, which I am. Let me remind you, as a life coach, which I am, remind you of that too, and as a counselor, which I am with a degree. I'm not going to tell you something that I have not learned from, um, be it by way of education, life experience, or both. I am going to be transparent because I want you coming to this show learning something. Let's have it. Let's talk about it. Let's go there. Let's go there. Right? If you're probably sitting and listening to the show and thinking like, well, who she thinks she is? You're judging. You're not listening. You're judging. Because I'm not here judging anyone. That's why I'm putting my own stuff out there. I like this saying that someone said, you can't spray me you can't spray me with my own tea, my own information. You can't. I'm actually pouring my tea out of my own kettle into my own cup so that you can see it. So you can't hurt me with me being transparent with you. I just disempowered you with that. I.e., you disempower people who think that you're judging them when you're just actually sitting there being empathetic and being a effective communicator and listener. I took this um, public speaking course. And when I took this public speaking course, it confirmed some things for me that I knew, and I knew that I needed to keep improving on. And it was about and it's funny, it confirmed it for me because I tell my clients this, like, oftentimes when I'm asking them very difficult questions, and I'm eliciting some information from them, that they don't typically like to share, um, they already cutting me off before I can ask the question, and they're giving me an answer. And oftentimes the answer they give was not even to the question I'm asking or was trying to ask. So I would say, well, that's not what I was going to ask you. But because you've disclosed it, now I want to ask you something else as well. So the same thing goes for the people in your personal life, right? If they are already cutting you off and coming to a conclusion about what you're trying to communicate without being interrupted by them, because now they're being defensive and they're hurt, oftentimes their pride is hurt. Um, And then they're like, "Well, what are we talking about?" Well, we're talking about I I was trying to talk about something related to this, but your interruption and you threw something into the conversation, the communication that I was trying to have with you. Now you've moved the communication into another direction. So now I'm trying to communicate what it is I wanted to say and also address what you were asking me. And that's unfair to me because now it puts me in a challenging position to be an effective communicator because you want something from me, but yet you're not willing to listen to what I'm trying to give you right now. Like, could you just listen to this, process it, and from an empathetic place, respond? And then once we massaged and got that at the forefront, we can now pull in this question you have from for me, an effective way of you asking it and me processing it and responding from an empathetic place. Although maybe again, both sides, we may not agree, but could we be empathetic in disagreeing? Come on, people. It's 2025. It is no longer 1985, 1995. It's 2025. And if you are communicating or having the same kind of challenges in all your relationships, your friendships don't last, right? People question your authenticity to them. Maybe it's not them, maybe it's just you. Maybe it's just you. So just a few minutes ago, I asked you to def- in the comments, write what an an effective communicator, an effective listener is. I ask you to put that in the comments, and I would like you to really, really do that. Define what an active listener is for you. You don't need to be long. You maybe can use a few words to describe what an active listener is. And while you do that, I want you to think about the characteristics that come with that. Think about it. What are some of the characteristics that come with being an active listener? If the environment by which you live in is fostering not being able to listen, then the likelihood is that um, you was um, I know what I want to say, but I want you to consider this way. If the environment by which you live in, raised in, adopted, fosters not being an active listener, an effective communicator, an empathetic individual, the likelihood is that you probably struggle to have those in other relationships with other people. And the people that you're trying to have them with don't know that, right? So now you're building these relationships with these individuals, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so judgmental. Oh my God, you this. But they don't know that, right? Because you have not allowed them to get to know you. Allow people to get to know you. And in doing so, those individuals need to be okay with learning your needs, your way of communicating. It's the same thing like love language. You know, people think about love language talking about relationships, intimate relationships, but love languages are any relationship. Love languages with your best friends. Love languages with I know it sounds weird, but love languages with the people you work with. If I have friends on my job, I have a love language for them. This is my friend. If I call you a friend, then I have a love for you. I do. Now I like you. If I call you friend, there's a love for you. So I have a love language with my friend. And is everyone love language perfect? It isn't. Is it always on target throughout the course of that relationship? No, because we're human. We are human. So we have um, these moments of ups and downs and all these different things. We're human. I'm looking at something. Sorry, guys, that I wanted to bring up here, but okay. Yeah, we're human. So it's not always going to be 100% perfect, but it could be loving, respectful, empathetic, apologetic. It could be all those. What other adjectives could you think of? It could be, but it won't be if you don't want it to be. We need to know how to do better. You can do bad all by yourself. You don't need anyone in that space to do it with you. And if you decide to live in a space in this world all by yourself, it's a lonely place to be. You know it's lonely if you're in relationships with people and you still feel all alone. Now, Is it better to be alone than to be boggled down with people who just totally don't respect you? A effective relationship that is built on good communication, honest communication, then yeah, you probably should take that time to be by yourself and allow them to take that pain and drama and hurt and all that other stuff that they're dealing with to somebody else. You don't have to deal with it. But again, let the person know when you're in a fight. A fight could be a disagreement, a disappointment, um, feeling judged. Let the person know. And don't waste time because the next few minutes is not promised to you. It's not. It's just not. I'm sitting here thinking about also, look at some of the relationships on social media or these reality TV shows and tell me, can you recognize effective communication in many of those relationships? Probably not. Probably absolutely not. Because what those shows are there to do is um to get a reaction from you enough so that you would be wanting to come back to see what the outcome of that situation was that caused a reaction in you. And then you take that non-fulfilling situation into your personal relationships with other people and you operate from that system. I just had this other thought, right? Even from my notes here. Um some Could you have an effective communication with someone? Um, could you have an effective communication with someone that you cursed out? Now, for me, there's a lot of different layers of cursing someone out. And I'm not talking about, going up to someone and you're having a disagreement with them, be like, you MF and you B. No, not that kind of cursing out. It's kind of like very like, I'm hurt and I got something to tell you. You said something to me. This is how you treated me and it hurt my feelings. That kind of cursing out. It's holding them accountable. If you want to call it cursing out, then okay. But some people need to do that. But what is the end goal in doing that? Is it to curse them out and say, well, I done cuss this B out and this MF out and we not doing this no more and F that person and I'm out. And then unfollow, delete and all that. Like, save your time. Oh, look, when you said this, I felt this. It hurt my feelings. I had to sit you down for a second. I didn't want it to be this ongoing situation, but I needed my space. And now I hear what you're saying to me. And let me tell you where I own my stuff and where I feel that you could probably take some accountability in this. And I don't want to judge you. I want to tell you how I felt. Well, that's a good cussing out to me. You don't you don't have those kind of relationship with people you don't want to have relationships with, right? So you're not going to be letting someone know how badly you are hurt or disappointed by how they didn't did or did not handle the relationship. But you have them because you have enough respect for them. It's your love language with them. It's you invested in that relationship. It's not a fly by night relationship for you. So you want to have the conversation. That's a good fight for me. We are 6 days into the new year. And many of us who are listening to this show, watching this show, have unhealthy relationships with people that we say we love. We are in relationships with people who we judge for being who they are. We're in relationships with people who they don't want us to hold them accountable for how they treat us. We're in relationships with people who are painting a picture of us to other people because it's a one sided story. so that they can feel good about how they handle or did not handle the relationship. We are willing, even if we don't even know it, throughout the rest of the year. It's just 6 days into the year, and we got 365 days. I don't know if this is a leap year. To carry this throughout the year. Do you understand stress is one of the number one factors in people dying, having strokes, heart attacks? What? Because we don't know how to address the stuff that bothers us. We're individuals with individual experiences. And in that, it would be in our best individual interest to figure out how to be an empathetic, sympathetic, apologetic, forgiving person in relationships we are in. People are not perfect, they're people. And in so, just because they're not perfect and because they are people, it doesn't give you the permission, the autonomy from that person to treat them like trash, to put them in corners, ghost them, talk about them, whether it's to your significant other, whether it's to your best friends, whether it's to your colleagues, whether it's to the stranger, about someone whom you say you have respect and love for. You're not being that person we're talking about today on this show. I'm calling you out for the good so that when we know better, we do better. And if we do better, the relationships we have with other people will be that more enriched, that more solid, where you can continue to build on, that more trusting. I Going back to the workplace, I believe jobs can cultivate that. I know it's nothing about, for many jobs, it's all about the dollar, the money. We go to work to make money to support ourselves and live the life we want. But on the job, I believe that people on these jobs could start demanding that the people by whom they employ to be treated with the utmost respect. Um, Many years ago, I remember hearing, I forgot his name. I think his name is Richard, the owner of Virgin Airlines. He had said in an interview, someone asked him, "Why do you think your business is doing so well?" I'm prefacing, it was along that line. "Why do you think your business is doing so well and your consumers continue to patronize your business? They fly on your um, planes." And Richard stated that as much as the consumers who purchase airline tickets from their business, how important it is to render good service to them, what's even more important is that the people he employ are happy being employees of this business. Like, again, you can't keep it unless you give it away. So Richard employed people, and in doing so, he treat them with the utmost respect. He believes in working in a space that is about listening to what the consumers need, but first, what does his employees need? Fair pay, respect on the job, and so many other things. That if they are getting that, when they render services to the consumer will get that. You can't keep it unless you give it away. So Richard cultivate a place of empathetic listening, unapologetic tones about making sure he treat his employees with the respect, being an effective listener to what the employees need, so that when a consumer goes up and requires something, that person services them can give them the same thing they get. We can do better when we know better. And in today's show, I'm trying to help those who watch the show. Please post a comment that you you're getting it. The light bulb is turning on a little tighter for you. You've been in that situation. You understand where I'm coming from. You want to do better in the relationships you have with other people. You want to live less stress and have less stress in your life. Therefore, you want to be able to, I'm listening to you. You have my undivided attention, and I want to work through this. And yes, I'm upset. I'm disappointed, but I want to hear you out. See, what I just did, it didn't excuse the person for their behavior, but it also says that you want clarity. You want to be heard, and you want them to know that they will be heard. How many of you will do that with someone right now? Because I bet you any amount of money, many of you who will watch this show is dealing with this situation right now. Right now. So much that I would implore you to please click the share button. Thank you to Alice. I saw that she shared the podcast show last week on her TikTok. Thank you so much. If you got Facebook, post it there as well. Instagram, please post it there. But I'm watching you people to see if you are sharing the content. You can't keep it unless you give it away. You can't improve on it unless you share it with someone else and say, hey, look, this is what I listened to. It was worth me sharing to you or with all of you by whatever platform. We're going to be doing better in 2025. I can't wait to see what this year has for this platform. I always say it because I'm very hopeful. I believe that greater things will come out of this. I can't wait to see my co-hosts, whoever you are. If you want to be a part of a unapologetic, transparent, honest conversation here on the platform, be it in person or via virtual, please let me know. I'm looking for some really good people I can have dialogue with that is not afraid to be vulnerable, honest, do the work about what they want to bring to the conversation, and let's have it. I always say, people, look, I think I have it here. Let's talk. Let's talk. We can talk. It takes more than one person to talk. I don't want to talk to myself. I want to talk with you. So if you got what it takes to be on this podcast, please do so. I'm also looking to have conversations with people about their life. We don't need to go clinically, but if it's something you want to talk about and you want a safe space to do it, we can always do it right here on the Voices Together Live podcast show. I'm willing to have that conversation with you because in having that conversation, we may be able to help other people deal with whatever it is they're dealing with. We can do it if we do it together. I also want to shout out people now. I usually shout you out in the beginning of the conversation, but because this is a pre-recorded show, I'm going to shout you out now. Hi, Coco. I love you. Mwah. Hi, Coco. Also, I want to shout out Rob. Hello. Thank you for always holding the show down. I want to shout out Alice. I want to shout out Scrappin'. Let me shout out Naomi. I also want to shout out Lakeisha. These are my people who regularly come to the show. Maybe I haven't seen you in a minute, but I do want to shout you out. I want to shout out Dawn. Happy New Year to you as well. Trying to think of my other people that come to the show. All of you who's come to the show at some point, I want to shout you out. Thank you so much for being someone who tap into this show. This show is not going to be able to reach its full potential if people like you aren't supporting it. So I do not take it lightly that you spend some time with me. All right? I appreciate you. This was today's show. Let's really, really shout it up. Thank you so much to all of you coming in. Don't forget, please come back and check out the show. And let's get to talking. All right? Until next time, I will see you guys. Be well. And as always, love, peace, cute, right? All right, guys. See you later. Peace.